Welcome to Cosmos with B. I'm B and I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium and spiritual healer based in New Zealand. Welcome. So today's video is going to be on people pleasing and why people pleasing is ruining your incarnation. It is incredibly common to people please and have no idea that you're using your energy in that way. And this sometimes what happens, I think, in an imbalanced society, or maybe the way we have been raised, or maybe the way we have experienced the earthly realm, is that we are taught to put everyone else before ourselves. And then you've also got, there's like a balance of it, and then you've got someone who does it like on the other end of the spectrum where they're very egotistical and it's all about them and their glory, and it's not a healthy me, it's an overinflated me. So there's like a balance, and in spirituality there's a lot of talk taking on the suffering of others, or always caring about others or whatnot, and it's very I'd say it's like that old world maternal energy that some women can embody, like that savior, that feminine savior complex. They have to suffer and trial away and do this and this for other people because other people are suffering too. And we sort of have to move out of that way, I think, specifically of being a female, and that you're not, and leaving this very old world, medieval belief systems behind. It sort of keep us really unhappy and really stuck as both male and female. And I know when it comes to like that old world mentality, and men, is that savior complex. I have to go to war for my people, even though you maybe don't want to go to war. Maybe you want to go do something else instead. And it's sort of like these belief systems are still very archaic and they're not really serving us anymore. But yeah, so people pleasing, it comes from, I would say, a very weak state of self. Like there's a balance of having a very strong sense of your soul and your desires and your pleasures and what you would like to create with your life and where you would like to take it, where that's like you sort of know a bit more about yourself. And sometimes you have to go through stuff in your 20s and your early 30s and whatnot. And you have to experience a lot of stuff maybe that wasn't really what you liked or what you wanted. Maybe you had this job and you didn't want, maybe you didn't like those people at your job. Maybe you lived in a living situation and it was just like, these people aren't for me. And there's all these things sometimes that we experience, like a side note that is not really like, but I don't want this in my life. And we have to come to that conclusion when we are a bit older, like, actually, this is what I want with my life. And it takes a time to get to that, and it's a process. And in order to sort of figure out what you want, you have to stop people pleasing. People pleasing is this thing where you are living life half-mast, and it is all about everyone else's feelings and everyone, that sort of how, these days a lot of people get very butthurt over a very simple comment or something that's been said, not even online, just in the real everyday world, or someone gets very offended that you're not doing what they wanted, or someone say, well, you can't do that because I can't do that, so I'm going to say that you can't do that, like those types of things. And you think, oh, that person must be really suffering, it's okay, I'll just let them XYZ, when you're actually creating more strife and hardship for yourself by allowing that to happen. And so you're making your own life unenjoyable by trying to please someone else's insecurities, or like what they're feeling. So when it comes to people pleasing, it's usually about what everyone else is feeling and wanting, and you sort of put yourself off to the side to make other people feel comfortable. And I think this is why a lot of people just stay in this energy where it's just like, oh, I'm not going to shine bright, I'm not going to go out there and do my life because I'm going to just stay here, I'm not going to step out there, because that's a solar plexus, just underneath your heart, the yellow energy center, the chakra. When that one is open and vibrant, it's like sunshine, and that is also your power of choice and your power of free will in the solar plexus. And if you're people pleasing, you're probably feeling like this. and you're not going to take up the full spectrum of your life force and your soul because you're putting everyone else's needs and wants ahead of your own. So say a good example of this, you're not going to take up space properly. Like when I say take up space, it's like the energetic and spiritual space of this is me, and I'm going out there to do what I want because I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. And you can't live your life in a ray of sunshine if you're people pleasing, because you are going to dull yourself down so you can sort of stay at this very mundane, mediocre level as other people around you. And it's not, at some point, you have to gather enough confidence and actually do what you want. And I feel like that's a part of spiritual maturity, and you let go of, the people pleasing and the friendship groups, trying to please all your friends. Maybe your friends want that from you, maybe your friends want this from you, but they're not really friends, because if you were to stop giving them what they wanted because you started focusing on yourself, you'll probably find there was not really any use for them in your life in the first place, and it was sort of like a really imbalanced connection. What else on people pleasing? Sometimes that comes from the inner child. A lot of times I think in society at large, we are taught to be nice and be quiet, and don't shine too bright. I don't know, there's that tall poppy syndrome and the people pleasing, like especially here in New Zealand, or like that small town syndrome, is if you shine a little bit brighter than everyone else, you're going to make everyone else feel a bit icky. So please don't shine your light, because you're making me feel uncomfortable, and I can't have that. So there's very people pleasing where you're like, actually, I'm just going to stay in this little bubble. I'm not going to do what I want, because what are other people going to think? What are this and this and that? And a really big thing with people pleasing is that it is not good. It's just not good, because you're living your life based on other people's very minute and very, very infantile insecurities and wants and needs that they're not willing to fulfill themselves. They want you to drop what you're doing and fulfill it for them instead. So that is not a healthy, self-autonomous way of living your life. And this is also when, if you're very people-pleasing, if you are maybe overly kind and you're not listening to yourself first, is when you start attracting freeloaders or leeches. And usually when you're a people pleaser or you're really empathic and you have not had enough lessons with boundaries, or just people that are not nice, or you're just being disheartened, a lot of it are being really kind, and it's just like that discernment. And the people pleasing is a lack of boundaries and a lack of love and self-respect for yourself, and not realizing that grown adults also need to figure out their own issues, and that that's not your responsibility. And so when you sort of get that, or you've had experiences, it's quite empowering to just be like, actually, I don't have to worry about that person's insecurities, or my mom's feeling this, but I don't know, my mom's an adult, she can figure it out for herself. And you sort of hand the power back to that person instead of you trying to figure out. Like, say you run a business, you're at the helm of a business, and in order for your business to thrive, you can't be friends with everyone. And say that you want to be the best man, or you want to be the best mate, or you want to do this and that. It's not going to work, because people will sort of take what they want from you because you're trying to please them, you're trying to be their friend, you're trying to do this and that, and it's not benefiting you. So that's when you start attracting leechy people and freeloaders, and people that just want to take a piece of the pie for themselves, and then you're sort of left high and dry in situations that are not loving or respectful or fun for you. And usually people pleasing is very, very imbalanced, and it can happen when one person has got a little bit more. Say maybe they're doing well in business or in life or something than someone else around them, and someone else wants some of that too, but you're not aware of the dynamic, and so it takes a while to learn and to say no and to stop people pleasing, because usually the people that you're trying to please, they're probably not very nice in the first place if they're wanting to take from you. So it's also a discernment and quality of friendships and workmates and everything else in life. And it's quite empowering when you realize that your desires and your pleasures are just as important as the person next door, or your family member or whatever, and that you are allowed to put your soul pathway first because you are the one living it. And so that comes from a very, very strong solar plexus, self-assuredness and confidence. And then you let other people try and figure out those dilemmas for themselves, because when we go through challenge or strife, or we need to get stronger in our spiritual energies, usually people need to go through these situations so they can learn to be more self-reliant and self-autonomous in their own lives and make empowered choices for themselves. People-pleasing is not empowered, and it does not add to a more healthy, self-autonomous society. Especially when we're grown adults, we should not be, in all our soul pathways and how we live life and how we want to experience life. It's going to be so vastly different, and people really need to, when people leech on you, for example, it is not nice, because usually they're going to take your ideas and your energy and your money or just whatever else you've got, and then if you're people pleasing, you're just going to allow that because, but I just want to help them out, but really you're not helping yourself out. So it's a real, once you become aware that you're doing it and that you're keeping yourself small so other people feel comfortable, and then you start to take up that space again and say, actually, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to be here, I'm paying to be here, and XYZ and everything else, you start to feel a lot better. But also what's going to happen with that tall poppy syndrome is you're going to trigger people that have yet to find that within themselves, and that is usually a discernment that maybe the energy isn't right, you're not on the same wavelength, it's hard to connect in with this person, and yes, people pleasing, solar plexus, taking up space. And yeah, it's just really interesting because of how much we allow other people's insecurities to dictate and almost sort of very subtly control the choices we're making in our everyday life. And it's also not very attractive or sexy, people pleasing. And especially with women, it is, I think sometimes we forget with the feminine energy that being a pushover isn't attractive, and owning your own femininity and your creativity and your, divine feminine energy is very, very attractive. And it is the same like when we see a man who stands up for stuff, says, no, I'm not doing this, I'm doing that. The females find it very, very attractive. So there's nothing really cute about people pleasing, because you're not going to live life on your terms. You're living life on very insecure individuals' terms. And you're not going to go making choices that make you feel good. And so you're going to not feel good in your own life because you're not feeling like you're really in charge of what you're doing. Okay. Now, what else do I need to say about that? Yeah, and sometimes I just think, and especially in today's society, we just need like that reminder to stop being so nice. And I think especially in our parents' generation, it is, I will slave away, I will sacrifice, and I will suffer, and I do this, but they're not that happy. And this comes through time and time again. There's a massive generation gap. And us in the generation, we want different things to the generation above us. And it's sort of like with the energies and how the cosmos are at the moment, we can break out of these very medieval ways of living life, but you also have to be prepared to ruffle a few feathers and say no and lose a few friends along the way when you stop trying to please people that maybe aren't that great in the first place. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that was helpful.